All right. I counted a long 5 seconds, so hopefully that was enough. But I'll give it one more second just in case. I never trust the technology is not going to. All right. Truly, it's been 5 seconds now. All right. Well, I will get started. Hello, everyone. I get the pleasure of welcoming you all to our 2023 virtual gala. We're the very first program of this evening, at least. There's been lots of wonderful programs all week long, but our big grand finale, we get to kick it off. So we're going to start with a very fun Meet the Staff. There'll be some familiar faces, some new faces. We'll go through and just get to know everyone a little bit, ask some fun questions. If anyone has any specific questions in the chat, I do have it open so I can loosely follow along at least. And yeah, we'll get started right away. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Cara. I'm the Director of Veterinary Services at the Wildlife Center of Virginia, and I'm the host for this part of the night. So very exciting. Let's get right into it and start with some questions, start with getting to meet all these wonderful faces here. So my first kind of question for everyone is for you to tell us, your name, what you do at the Wildlife Center, and how long you've been at the Wildlife Center. Because in this group, we have people who've been there for many years, a few years, and then just a few months. So it's always fun to see that range. And I think that's one of the things that's really cool about the center. So who should start? Let's see. How about Jess? Do you want to go first? You knew I'd pick you.
Yeah, I did. So my name is Jess Rancier. I am the LVT supervisor at the Wildlife Center. I have been there since 2018. So I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary, which is really fun. I started the same year that Cara did. We started as intern mates, although she was there as a student prior to that. But we've been there for about the same amount of time. So that's me.
Awesome. All right. Do you want to pick someone else to go next? I'll let you. We can bounce it around. That's fun.
Oh, sure. I'm going to pick Alex.
Thank you, Jess. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm happy to be here. I'm very excited for my first gala. I am the new wildlife rehab supervisor, and I've been at the center for about 6 months, I think. Yes, 6, maybe going to 7 months, and I'm loving every minute of it. I'm excited to be here and to continue to stay here.
Awesome. Well, we're very happy to have you. Alex comes to us from Texas with a long history working with wildlife down there. So we're very, very lucky and excited to have her up here working with Virginia Wildlife. Do you want to pick someone to go next, Alex? You can just keep bouncing.
Sure. How about Olivia?
I knew you were going to pick me. I'm Olivia Schiermeyer. I am the senior veterinary intern. I have been here about 1.5 years, mostly because I refused to leave after my internship. And I picked Grace to go next.
Hi, I'm Grace Ritchie. I am the current rehab intern, and I think I'm been here about 5 months, which has flown by, but I've loved every minute of it. So yeah, that's me. And I think we'll pick Rachel to go next.
I think you're still muted, Rachel. Hold on. Yeah, you're still muted. It's still happening. There you go. You're off now. You're good.
Great. Okay. Please excuse my voice. I'm just getting over some sickness. But hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a licensed vet tech at the Wildlife Center. Excuse me. I've been full-time for a little over 2 years, but I started as a volunteer back in 2018 while I was in tech school. So I've been around.
Yeah, I saw someone in the chat saying they're joining as a volunteer on Thursday. So you never know. You could start as a volunteer and become a staff member one day. It's very, very cool. And thank you, Rachel, for joining us despite having almost no voice. I'll try to ask you limited questions. And then I think, Kelly, you'll be last up. And you have the longest standing tenure of everyone. So a good person to go last.
Thank you, Cara. Yes, my name is Kelly, and I did actually start at the Wildlife Center as a volunteer right when they moved into what we call the new building. And so been there since 2001, getting ready to celebrate my 22-year anniversary at the Wildlife Center, and have always loved it and have been in development all that time. But it still feels like it's kind of flown by for me, even after 22 years.
It really flies. Your life really flies working with wildlife. I was talking to one of the students about that today. They're like, "Gosh, this externship has gone by so fast." I was like, "Yeah, make a job of it or a career of it, and then your life goes by very fast.
Yes.
The time flies." That might just be a universal human experience as well, though.
True.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves. This is very casual, so if anyone does have any specific questions, let me know. But I have a fun question that just kind of came to me. So a lot of the people who are here have been working with animals potentially and been able to either participate in a release or even potentially do a release themselves. So I'm curious to know if anyone has a particular, release story to share with us, a patient that was really meaningful to them that got released. I know lots of you have released lots of animals. So does anyone have a particular release memory or a patient that was special to them that got released that they would like to share about?
I have a story.
Excellent.
Okay. So in my past facility, I was helping a vet student do a rehab on this mockingbird. And she got to put the little splint on and everything. And it went through the whole, veterinary care. And it was actually time for a release. This mockingbird came in as a fledgling. And it was one of her first patients. So we went to go release it together, and we were going to make this beautiful video about opening the box and then, just throwing it up in the air. So I'm getting ready with the camera, and she's fixing the top of the box. And we actually have a video of this. And she's fixing the top of the box, and the mockingbird was ready. He was ready to go. And as soon as she opens one lid to stick her hand in, he just flows out of the box. And throughout this time, because he came in as a fledgling, she kept calling him Birdie Sanders, because you know how they have the little fluff in their head. So in the video, she's like, "Oh no, Birdie Sanders." But I mean, beautiful. He went up into a tree and flew away. It was beautiful. We actually used that little clip in a presentation about wildlife, about what to expect in a release and what not to expect. So I know. What
to expect is everything could go exactly how you weren't expecting it to go. What to expect at the release. No, that's a great story. And it's wonderful too to hear about, people working with students as well, because we are a teaching hospital, and that's so much of what we do is working with students. And I love our students get to do releases pretty frequently, and it's always so exciting. We have a couple Eagle releases coming up next week, and the students they're so excited. There's like a wait list practically of students who want to go to these releases, which is really fun. Does anyone else have a particular release story or particular patient they want to share about? You can just raise your hand or unmute yourself, or Jess will. Perfect.
Yeah. So I haven't done many releases as of late. I feel like the last release I did was probably when I was an intern, but one of our former LVT interns got to do a release of a patient that she was so excited about. Her name was Alyssa. She was our last LVT intern. And one of the very first patients that she ever got to assist with anesthesia on was a little Eastern screech owl. And I honestly can't remember what the procedure was. It might have been an evisceration or an orthopedic procedure or something. But the owl had arrested during the procedure, and we actually had to do CPR on the bird. And this was one of the very few times that CPR actually worked in this case, and we did get the patient back, and miraculously it somehow made it through that ordeal, and then continued on through rehab, and she ended up getting to release it several months later after it had been in our care. And that was just the highlight of life. She wrote her end of the year memory about it, and it was one of the most memorable cases that I can remember in my time at the Wildlife Center. So it was really good.
Yeah, that is so fun. The releases are, I mean, they're the best part. It's what we do it for. So it's really, I thought, a fun topic we could touch on. There is a comment in the chat asking about if each person could talk a bit more about what they do at the center, which I guess we kind of said, like, I'm the LVT, but what does that mean? What do you do in a day? And then I think looping into that, so tell me more about, what does your day-to-day job look like? But also you can kind of summarize it by telling me what's the highlight of your day? What's the best part of your day every day? Why do you get up and come to work every day? What are you, looking forward to when you go there? Do you want to go first again, Jess? We can go in the same order.
Sure. So I like to compare my job as an LVT that, it's kind of akin to being a nurse. A lot of times, like, LVT is very interchangeable with like a veterinary nurse. That's kind of like the new term that people are using. So we do a lot of things every day. We help with morning treatments. We help pull up medications. We, take radiographs. We run anesthesia. We do lab work. So, performing CBCs and fecals and all the things. So it's a wide variety of tasks every day. And probably what I enjoy most about my day is that wildlife medicine is very similar to emergency medicine in the sense that, we never really know what is going to happen day to day. We don't know what patients we're going to get in. We don't really know even what procedures are going to happen that week or that day. So every day is kind of a mystery in that sense. So there's that component. And then there's also the teaching component of our jobs at the Wildlife Center, which is something that I really enjoy. So that's it in a nutshell.
Cool. Thank you. Kelly, do you want to go next? I'm going to switch up the order. So, what do you do at the Wildlife Center, in more detail, and what do you look forward to about it every day?
Sure thing. I have the wonderful job of working with our donors and the fundraising and development department. So I manage our donor database, and which is really rewarding to get to know people, their names, and seeing them at special events and touching base with them when we get to do fun things like releases. I think that really brings home to people why we do what we do, why they support us. They kind of get to see it come full circle. So I've been in development ever since I started, but way back in the day, I also used to do environmental education. I did work with some of our education ambassadors also. So I would say that certainly the highlight of my day is the people I work with, but for sure, if it's been a long day or a stressful day or something, having Connor walk by with an ambassador that he's training, or, just getting to see that process happen, getting to, enjoy, the progress that they're making with them and during the training. That's very fun to see.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have, just so people aren't getting confused, we have another wave of people who are coming at 6:20. So there's some spectators for this portion, but don't worry, I'll go back and they'll all get to introduce themselves as well when we move to the next portion. So Olivia, do you want to go next?
So I'm the senior veterinary intern. And part of that is helping our newer interns with the day-to-day tasks. Primarily, I help with morning treatments of all of our patients. I help the students and the interns with admit exams and figuring out treatment plans. I do a lot of surgeries and procedures every week, and mostly just teaching any opportunity that I get to teach anybody about anything about birds. It's my favorite. I love talking about birds. Anytime a student asks me about a bird, I can talk forever. I love doing that. I also, like Jess, just love the variety of things that we get to see, and some very unexpected patients sometimes. And then sometimes patients that we see all the time, I get to see in a completely new way because they present for something completely different that I would never have thought of. And I just learn everything every day. Every day I learn new things, and it's amazing.
It is fun. We all are always learning together. No matter how long you've done this, there is always something new you're going to learn. And it's very much like a good team building, bonding experience to really learn as a group, I think. All right. Grace, do you want to go next? And then we'll see.
Sure. So, I'm the rehab intern. And basically, my day consists of a lot of feeding, cleaning, and just general husbandry of a lot of different animals. I can take care of anything from bears to turtles to raptors to songbirds, squirrels, anything in a given day. But I really enjoy it, and I think I also get to help train students as they come in, and I'm kind of like Olivia. I love teaching students and watching them grow in their skills during their externships with us. I think that's really exciting, and I just really enjoy getting to spend time with the animals, even if it's me cleaning their enclosure. Any excuse to spend time with the amazing animals that we get in every day is just very rewarding.
Awesome. All right, Alex, how about you?
Okay, like I said, I'm the wildlife rehab supervisor, and I would just echo off what Olivia and Grace said about teaching students, and we're always learning together. I have the opportunity to share office space with a lot of the vet staff, and I'm constantly asking questions to Olivia all the time, and she's so nice. She always answers, and she wants to talk about it, so I really appreciate that. But my job entails, just like Grace, taking care of the husbandry of the animals, the daily care, if they have any treatments, that the rehab team can do. We do those. As a supervisor, I oversee a team of rehabbers, and we review protocols as well, just to keep up with the gold standard of care. Always keeping up with research. There's a lot of that we don't know about certain species, and so there's always new stuff to learn. But I mean, yes, in a nutshell, that's pretty much.
Sometimes you're literally shelling nuts. So
literally, yes, literally for squirrels right now with the hundreds of squirrels we have.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Rachel, I think you're the last one.
All right. So as I said earlier, I am a licensed pet tech. And I don't know, I mean, Jess summed it up so well, but it is basically similar to a nurse. So I assist with morning treatments and pulling up meds, doing those treatments. I do a lot of lab work. So we don't run a lot of lab work in-house. So I look at a lot of blood smears and run a lot of fecals. I help with admin exams, PM treatments, closing list stuff. So any of those things on a given day. And I also love what everyone has said about teaching and working with the students. It's always like things that we do all the time, and then the students haven't done it before, and it just kind of reminds you like how cool it is. So you never get too used to it, I guess, in a way. And we're always learning and always seeing new things, which is great. And I love that. So yeah,
that is one of the very best parts I think about our job in our hospital, is that the students keep it so interesting and just remind you how cool your job is every day. Because when you're grabbing that third eagle of the day and your arms are starting to hurt, it's like, oh man, my back's a little sore. I'm getting a little older. And then the students are like, whoa, a third eagle. And you're like, yeah, this is a third eagle. That's so cool. So it's really, really wonderful. They really, I think, make it for all of us, really. So I'm glad everyone feels the same way. All right, I think we're almost ready to switch over. I'm just going to make sure there's no questions in the chat that are lingering. Marilyn wants to know, Alex, if you're a bear mom. Yes, she is a bear mom.
Yes, I forgot to mention the coolest part of my job, or one of the coolest part. I am part of the bear mom group.
And then there's one more for Dr. Olivia. Dr. Olivia, what's the hardest surgery you've done?
Probably orthopedics.
all orthopedic surgery.
Orthopedics, especially any wing. It's just so scary because if you put it on just a little bit crooked, it's all over.
Yeah, you have to have it on exactly just the way so they can fly. It's
technically challenging.
But we do it and we're successful. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think we're going to switch over to the next group. So for our second wave of people, you can go ahead and turn your cameras on now. And then all the 6 o'clock people, I will say goodbye to. Thank you so much for coming and spending a couple minutes, 22 minutes with us, and getting to know all of our wonderful supporters. All right. I'm not leaving, but they are. All right, there we go. We just need Lily and Natalie to turn on their cameras. There's Lily, and we just need Natalie. There's Natalie. Oh, still at work. I'm so sorry. I left you. All right. I think that is everyone we're expecting in this group. So, welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You probably caught a little bit of the tail end of some of the questions, so maybe I'll try to keep it fresh for this group and keep you on your toes. But to start with, I was just hoping everyone could go around and introduce yourself. Let everyone know how long you've been at the Wildlife Center, and then if you could, in a little bit of detail, we kind of missed the detail with the last one. What do you do at the center? What is your main role? What does your day-to-day kind of look like? Who wants to go first? Amber, do you want to go first? I made Jess go first last time.
So my name is Amber. I'm the operations manager at the Wildlife Center. A typical day, I don't even know if I can describe it. Like every day I come in, there's something else going on. Something might be wrong with the building or an animal enclosure. So really just tag teaming things with Tamala. We're trying to make things run smoothly at the building, keep the lights on, kind of minimize damages around the property. Yeah, just
make sure there's enough toilet paper.
Yeah, changing light bulbs, paying bills.
And how long have you been at the center?
Oh, yes. 2.5 years. It has flown by.
That was a theme in the last conversation, was everyone just said how fast time flies when you work at the center, for sure. All right. Who wants to go next? Lily, do you want to go next?
So I am currently a front desk coordinator at the Wildlife Center. I started 2 years ago now, which seems insane. I had worked at the front desk for a year and some change, and then went to the seasonal wildlife rehabber / vet assistant. And as of today, I started my front desk coordinator position again. So front desk is basically just answering our wildlife emergency phone call, intaking all of our patients, writing all the updates, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a much more complex job than she's making it sound. I can hear most of things they talk about at the front desk from my offices, and they get some of the most crazy phone calls you could ever possibly imagine, all the way from like, I saw a spotted lanternfly, what do I do, up to like, there's a bear in my basement. So it seems like it's always very, very interesting. All right. Tamala, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Amber's assistant. I'm the operations assistant at the Wildlife Center. I tag team everything with her. We do invoices, financials, emergency training, onboarding of all of our new hires. And it can vary day to day depending on what's going on at the center.
Awesome. And how long have you been at the center, Tamala?
Since April.
It goes fast, right?
It does.
Yeah, it goes so fast. All right. Mac, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Mac. Sorry if I sound a little sick. I'm coming down with something, but I am the rehab team lead. I've been at the center for just over 2 years, I think, as of last month. Day-to-day basis, I take care of most of the animals. I do a lot of the baby raising, a lot of the like raptor care once they're outside, husbandry for our reptiles. I also do a lot of the training and coordination for our externs, our rehab externs that come into care or that come into the center. They don't come into care, they work there. So I help with a lot of their training and coordinating all of that. And then of course I'm one of the bear moms as well.
Awesome. All right, Natalie, do you want to go next? Or this is Dr. Natalie, I guess.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't sure if this microphone was going to work. I'm Natalie. I am one of the veterinary interns here, and my day is just like Dr. Olivia's, if you were here for, she described it, but basically I'm treating patients and doing intakes and teaching students, interpreting blood work, doing basically everything medical. that's necessary. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
How long have you been at the center?
Oh gosh, I think I've been here almost 4 months now.
Yeah. And Natalie also came twice as a student. Before she was hired, she came as I don't know, the first time you came, you weren't a fourth year vet student. You were just like, hey, can I hang out on Christmas break? Yeah. She like spent Christmas with us one year, and then
COVID
came
Christmas.
back. Yeah, she spent a COVID Christmas with us, learning. So it's fun to see, your students progress from students to staff. It's very cool. And then she came back as a fourth year extern too. So she has been around for a while. And then last up, Jen. I think you missed my little preamble, but probably you can figure that people are introducing themselves and just saying, what do you do at the center and how long you've been there.
Okay, yeah, I did miss it, but I'm Jen. I'm the LVT intern, so I'm a vet tech. I do the same thing as Rachel and Jess, treating patients, running their anesthesia for x-rays or surgeries, and then a lot of lab work as well. Oh, and I've been there since April.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. One thing we talked a bit about in the last chat that I thought was kind of fun, and we'll get very different answers here probably, was releases. So we all kind of work towards this common goal of rehabilitating wildlife, teaching students, but one of the big payoffs, other than seeing the students learn, is seeing those animals go back to the wild. And I know most of us here have had the opportunity now to release an animal, probably more than one. And sometimes, it's not even a choice. It's like, oh, you live in that area, please take this thing home tonight. It needs to go. So I was wondering if anyone would be willing to share a release story or, the story of a patient that got released that was particularly memorable or impactful. You can just raise your hand if you want to talk, and also not everyone talks at once. Does anyone want to talk? Surely someone's released. Mac will do it. Great.
I'll go. I have a couple releases I guess I could talk about. I feel like I don't actually get to release a lot of things. They just kind of happen to fall within, like, they should go during the daytime or like
really far away
at like 4:00 and I'm working, things like that. But this year I got to go on the bear release. And so usually for our bear releases, it's a whole ordeal. They get sedated, they get all of this procedure. I don't know, anyone tuned in on Wednesday, you would have heard this already. But DWR picks up the bears and they take them to a location that they have chosen that's appropriate for them. And so, sometimes they're hours away, all the way across the state, wherever that they have found as a good location. So luckily we had, I think it was 2 of our bears this year were getting released about an hour and a half away. And myself and Lauren were able to go and watch. And it was just a really cool experience. It's completely hands off, of course. So they open up the big metal trap door and the bears just immediately sprint out. They went running straight into the woods, like quick glance back, but otherwise they took off into their brand new, like, beautiful natural habitat. And it was just a really, like, proud mom moment that I could talk about it forever, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Even just like the video footage I see that come back from those releases always like is moving and makes me want to cry. So I'm sure whenever we see the video later, I'm sure I'll cry. But no, that's a great one. Lois is wondering if anyone's going to the Eagle releases next week. I have actually had a lot of students and staff who want to go. So we're kind of trying to figure out how to piece it together so that we can still have people working at the hospital, but get everyone who wants to go out there. So the 2 birds that are getting released next week have been particularly long-standing patients that had both very challenging cases. So I think a lot of people are deeply invested emotionally at this point in these birds because they've put us through testing medically, rehabilitation wise. They've tested us and they have succeeded. So it's great. Does anyone else have a release story or release experience they want to share? Lily, excellent.
So at some point last year, I don't remember the exact date, but an older gentleman had rolled up to the front of the center in his pickup truck with a hawk wing dangling out of his grill that me and my supervisor, Michael, had to carefully remove from the intricate part of this guy's grill. The hawk made it, thankfully. I think he had some eye injuries that were able to be treated, and that was a very rewarding release for me. We had to find a nice park close to 64 where he was hit, that was not on 64. But that was probably one of the more fun ones because I got to see like from the start to the beginning and be a part of it. It was really fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to switch it up and just go a little wild with questions now, because I'd like to keep people on their toes. So, a common theme I think that you'll find when you meet anyone at the Wildlife Center is, they've loved wildlife, loved animals since they were little. They'll always tell you that, oh, ever since I was little, I loved wild animals or I loved animals. So I'm curious to know what your favorite wild animal was as a child, though, like not now, like when you were 3, what was the coolest wild animal that you could think about? And I think we'll all have very different answers. I grew up in the city, so like I saw a turkey vulture once and I was like, what is that? That is the craziest, coolest thing I've ever seen. And I was like blown away and mystified because up to that point I'd seen a lot of like ducks, a lot of squirrels, and I liked them. But when I saw like a real vulture for the first time as a child, I don't even think I registered that it was really an animal. So okay, who can go next? Who wants to go first? Who knows your answer? Okay,
well,
Natalie.
I'll just say that vultures are that cool, and I still feel like that when I see them. Growing up, I don't remember at that young of an age, but I've always been a fan of sloth. So even before I had ever seen one in real life, I just felt this weird niche interest in them. And I actually this started probably early high school. And I actually ended up after I graduated undergrad, moving to Costa Rica and working with them, doing field research, wildlife rehab. And they were in fact the coolest animal. They still are up there in my book. The two-toed sloth.
Every time I see a TikTok of a sloth, I immediately send it to Natalie because it's well known that she is a sloth aficionado. I don't know if you can be an aficionado of an animal, but
I'll take it.
Who wants to go next? Tamala, excellent.
So when I was younger, we would always go on rides to look for deer. So I was obsessed with all kinds of deer when I was younger. Our parents probably did it to make us go to sleep and just ride us around in the car, but we would try to count the most deer and see who could find the most.
That's super cute. I don't think I ever saw deer as a child that I can think of. Maybe in zoos, but who wants to go next? Amber, let's do Amber and then we'll do Jen.
All right. So this will be no surprise to many of my childhood friends, but the giraffe was always my favorite. It still is my favorite. I have always been pretty much the tallest person everywhere I go. So in elementary school, I was that kid in the back of the class picture, back of the riser at the concerts, So I felt like I really related to giraffes. And then I actually got to see one in person. And they're still super cool, super amazing. I still love them.
That's fair. You empathize with their height. I like that. Jen, do you want to go next?
Yeah. I really always liked like all animals. I remember like every single animal I would see, I would become obsessed with. But we always went to my grandma's Vermont house for summers and over winters, and I would always look for frogs, toads, and salamanders. And I remember every time I found a salamander, it being like the best day ever. And like, just like we had a pond in the back, so I would always search there. But then one day I found one that was like red, and I had never found a red one before. So I like spent all like week looking it up and trying to find it. And I found that one like off a dirt road. So I don't know. I always thought salamanders were really cool.
Yeah, salamanders are really cool. We don't get a lot of them at the center, which is, I mean, I guess good for them that they're not needing to come in so much, but I always, be cool to see some. Mac or Lily, who wants to go next? Mac, all right, go for it.
I don't remember like a specific animal that I really liked as a kid. My mom's probably watching, so if she answers in the chat for me, great. But I did grow up in Florida, and of course in Florida there's tons of reptiles. There were always like anoles running around on our sidewalks and snakes in our yard. And I still like to this day absolutely love reptiles. They're my favorite. So
awesome. Lily?
Just gonna say snakes as well. I think back at all the poor snakes I probably was torturing by picking up and playing with as a young child. My mom hated me for that. And then I remember going up to Maine and my grandpa let it be known that there aren't really any venomous snakes up here. So I took that as a child as I'm gonna pick up every single snake that I find.
Only safe snakes.
Yeah, exactly. It was fun.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah, it was a diverse group of answers. I'm pleased that worked out well. All right. Well, we only have a couple more minutes, so I will try not to keep you too long. Let me see if there's any interesting questions in the chat. Otherwise, I have a few more. All right. Let's see. I don't think there's anything major in there. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, we only truly have 2 minutes, so we have to keep it kind of brief. But my question kind of for the last group was, what is in very few words, what is your very favorite part of your job that the highlight of your day every day? And for me, it's very easy. The animals are cool, but what keeps me coming back is the people that I work with, my coworkers, these lovely people, and the students. That's for me what, gets me out of bed every morning. Does anyone else want to go next? Like, what's the highlight of your day every day?
I can go. I mean, the people are amazing here and the students are wonderful, and that's a huge part of it, but I'm still on the patients are the reason. It feels like a huge privilege to get to work this closely with wildlife and see all the fascinating things every day. So the patients for me.
All right, who wants to go next? Just go for it.
I would say the patients as well, and definitely, being forced to always think outside of the box, be creative with your treatments and things that are coming along. No day is ever the same, so I never get bored.
Very true.
And Jen is a wonderfully creative addition to our team on the vet team. She comes up with all kinds of contraptions for physical therapy, you name it, Jen's on it.
It's true. Who else?
I can go. I think my favorite part of my job is meeting like the random strangers that bring us animals. There's been times where you get yelled at front desk by people that give you a call, but I get so many more like people from Chesterfield that bring me a fence lizard that's less than a gram and drive an hour and a half for them, and people that are willing to drop everything in their day and bring a wild animal to us. You get to meet some really interesting people at front desk, and I think that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, that is very, very cool. What about you, Tamala, Amber, Mac?
I'll go. So I think this is the first time I've worked for a nonprofit. So feeling like I'm part of something that's bigger than just a job, it's really rewarding.
Definitely.
It's easy. I'll go fast. It's the people. I met some of my best friends at the Wildlife Center. It's really great to have so many coworkers that can nerd out with you on animals or whatever cool insect or bird you found on your hike that weekend. Like, it's a really special crowd we have there.
Yeah, it really is. And we all, I don't know, I feel like everyone gets each other very well. We do a really fun secret Santa at Christmas. And I've received some like the most thoughtful gifts I've ever received in my life from coworkers. I'm like, do you know me this well? I guess you know me better than some of my family members, maybe. So that's impressive. What about you, Mac?
Similar to what Jen said, is that like every single day is completely different. Like you never know what species are going to come in. You don't know what injuries they're going to have or what kind of treatments they're going to need. So it just kind of keeps it exciting. And you know, I'm never going to get bored at this job, ever.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Hopefully everyone enjoyed getting to know everyone a little bit better. We have a really big team and a growing team, which was wonderful. So it's always nice to get to see some new faces, some old faces. And then I will just make a quick announcement for those who are watching. Stay on this channel right here. Don't go anywhere. The ambassador, Meet the Ambassadors is next. So you've met the people employees. Now you can meet the animal employees. And just stay right here. Don't go anywhere. And the animals will be with you shortly. The bird animals, not the people animals. And then for all our participants here, we can go ahead and sign off now. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
Of course, we said at the same time, of course.
Of course.
Well, welcome. We're really excited to start the next part of our Gala Night special by introducing you to some of our amazing animal ambassadors here at the center. And we're changing things up a little bit because we're actually starting with me outside, but just before the sun sets. And I had to walk up the hill, so if I sound out of breath, that's why. But I thought we'd start out with an ambassador that I know is very special to everyone who's a supporter of the Wildlife Center. And one that you might guess by all of the noises he's making, he's very excited for his food. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around. There we go. Everybody say hello to Buddy. Buddy is up front with us here right now, and he's talking because he is very excited for the food that he is getting right now. So I'm sure I really don't need to relate Buddy's story to most of you. I'm sure you're familiar, but just to quickly recap, he came to the center in 2008. So that makes him, 15 years old now. So he's sort of a middle-aged bald eagle, if you will, for captivity. There you go, Buddy.
Connor's coming in harsh.
There he is. Well, I think Buddy's okay with it. But right now he's getting some mice. He's very hungry. I did feed him some of his diet early, so don't let him tell you otherwise. But he's been with us for 15 years. He came to our center because when he was just a little chick, he had a lesion on his beak that was found to be avian pox. So if you look closely, you will notice that his beak is misaligned. So that's why he couldn't go out in the wild, but he's doing a great job here, and he's become what I think is our most famous ambassador here at the center, thanks to what was at first Eagle Cam, but now Critter Cam, where everyone can watch him. There we go. Did you guys all get a chance to hear Buddy talking a little bit earlier? I don't know if the audio captured it all. He was very excited when he saw me around the corner, because I don't know if he's excited to see me. He was probably excited for the food, but there you go, Bud.
I think I could hear it through the walls, actually.
He is quite loud. He's usually the ambassador that I think is the first to greet us in the morning. Usually when I pull up to the center of my car and I get out, I can hear him already calling in the morning. I know a lot of you on the chat have asked before about his training and how it's going. So Buddy is certainly one of our, most challenging birds to work with. He's a very large bird. He's a very territorial bird. So it just makes working with him a little bit more challenging, but we do still try to fit in training sessions as often as we can. There you go, Buddy. And this right here is about to be his last mouse. There you go. So as I take a step back, we might get to see him fly a little bit. Usually he flies off once he realizes that there's nothing left. We'll see. Perhaps he's a little hopeful that there's some more to come. And while I have him on cam, before we move on to another ambassador, I also have to say, if you're looking at the gala items, there's some really great Buddy-inspired items that you can bid on. There's a set of Buddy note cards, which is really, really cool. And another one that I really like is you get to bid on a picnic with Buddy. And that doesn't mean going in here with Buddy. That would not be a great idea. But it does mean that you can join us on these benches right out front where we often have our meetings. And Buddy, of course, likes to join us for those meetings by flying right up to the plexiglass here, so we can have a nice picnic out here and enjoy some time with Buddy and some other ambassadors as well. But I think it's getting a little dark out here, so I think I'm going to hop inside before I won't be able to see anymore.
That's a perfect opportunity for me to introduce Paige, our newest staff member, or one of the newest staff members here, at least at the Wildlife Center of Virginia. Paige, before you talk about who you got there, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself, how long you've been here, how you got here, all that stuff.
Yeah, hi. My name is Paige, as Michael said. I began here actually in May as a rehab extern student. So I spent 12 weeks learning about husbandry, getting hands-on practice with all of our patients. And then at the conclusion of my rehab externship, I joined the front desk with Michael, and I have been there since about the mid to beginning of August. coming on about 2 months at the front desk, and it has definitely been a learning experience, but lots of fun.
We're always learning. So who do you got there, Paige?
Yes. So this is Elliot. He is our Western hognose snake. So he is not actually a native species, but he still has a lot of really cool lessons that he can teach us. He was once a pet, but his owner was concerned about the type of care that he was receiving. He's about 7 years old. He came to us in about 2018, I believe, and he is quite the charmer, so you can see here. And he is I think he's our smallest snake ambassador, but definitely not small in terms of personality. He's got this really cool, let's see, I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, this really cool nose, which is where the hognose snake comes from, which is actually useful for digging in the ground, is one of their main purposes for that.
He's giving us some tongue action there too. That's nice.
Yes. Kind of sipping things out, seeing who's on, greeting everyone.
Paige, this is kind of cool because this is your first time handling him for something like this, for an event or a program, right?
It sure is. I definitely have some interest in kind of working with our ambassadors and getting especially as I've gotten to work with more of the front desk, which is definitely more public than rehab over the past few weeks. I have definitely enjoyed getting to involved in that education aspect of it. So getting to do something like this and show off what cool critters we have is definitely a learning experience for me. I think Elliot's definitely an old pro at this point.
It looks like he liked your sleeve there for a second.
Getting a little bit camera shy, but that's all right. He is certainly not shy.
He's very used to being handled too.
Yes, he is, absolutely.
I don't know if you guys are following the YouTube chat. Lacey asked a question. This is really going to put you on the spot, Paige. With how much you've crammed for this knowledge, I feel like for all new staff members, we give them like an overwhelming amount of stuff to learn rapidly. But but it'd be good for everyone, maybe. How did Elliot get his name?
Yeah, so I do know this answer actually. So since he's a Western hognose snake, he is actually from central and western United States. So that's an area mainly known for, prairies and desert. So he's actually named for a famous cowboy, Sam Elliott. And that's how he got his name.
Yay! You aced the pop quiz.
You're hired.
Yeah.
And also yay, because Sam Elliott.
Yes. Awesome.
Awesome possum.
Oh, what a segue.
Did you practice that,
Incredible segue. Let's see. You guys will have to let me know if my sound is not coming through. Let me know. Okay, good. Yes. Breaking news. Breaking news. Lauren and I, we feel like we're like at a news desk right now since there's two of us.
I can't even tell you.
We do have some breaking news that's related to opossums. And it's that we have one. We have one to show you. It's an ambassador opossum. So Lauren will put his crate up on the table. This is an opossum that those of you who support the Wildlife Center and have been to the galas year after year after year, you will remember this individual from last year. And it's hard to imagine that it has already been a year, but this animal was unveiled to the public for the very first time last year during the gala for 2022, where the naming rights were auctioned off. The winning bidder chose Oliver to represent the peaceful bridging between worlds of wildlife and humans. Oliver, in relation to an olive branch, of course, a universal symbol of peace. And he's here. He might be a little bit shy to come out. It's been pretty quiet back here for the last hour or so. Oh, but we've piqued his interest, I think, with a special meal set up for him. There he is. And so at this point, he knows the drill pretty well. He has been on dozens and dozens of education programs over the past year. both in person, on site, if virtual events just like this one. Here he is. Doesn't he look beautiful? So Oliver, I mean, if you remember this opossum story, then it is one that will be all too familiar to you. He was admitted as a very young individual, likely just a few months old. It was during the spring of 2022. And he had been attacked by an outdoor cat. We don't know if it was someone's pet cat or a feral cat, but he lost his right eye as a result of that injury, which is one of the things that made him non-releasable. So it's an unfortunate outcome for him in terms of being a wild animal, but it is a great chance for us to include that theme and that messaging in all of our education programs, no matter if they're in person or virtual or in writing or casually, just like, circumstances that we find ourselves in now. And it looks like he's positioned himself just perfectly to show you his rear end instead of his cute face. So I'll see if I can kind of move his little food dish just a little bit over.
Oh, and while you're doing that, Alex, something that I've actually done on some of my programs that is always fun, if I've got a microphone, is I sometimes try to put it up to him to see,
he has found the hard-boiled egg.
That's usually the most treasured item. Let's see. Looks like Oliver may have decided to take the egg and run. So sometimes when it's an egg or it's a mouse, if it's not cut up into small pieces, our possums tend to like it so much sometimes that they take it and they just run back into their crate where they can eat it, where no one could potentially take it from them because they're so excited. So I'm guessing that's what happened right now, why he went off air.
It's my preference to give them those hard-boiled eggs uncut up. I like them to get the whole half. I think it's fun. I like to hear the eggshell crunch.
Yeah. No, unfortunately not coming through, I don't think.
Oh, no. Oh. Well, I'll give you an impersonation of how it sounded.
Very helpful.
Well, let's see. Yeah. So what's Oliver having for dinner tonight? So I'm sure we're all having our delicious Gala meals and beverages ourselves. Yeah. Oliver is munching on that hard-boiled egg. He had some nice fresh produce, fruits and veggies, nice little corn on the cob there, and some delicious dried kibble, specially formulated for his dental health. So he's well taken care of. He's living in luxury at the Wildlife Center. There's lots to know about opossums, lots of interesting facts, and I wish that I could spend the next 45 minutes regaling you with wonderful facts about opossums, but our time is limited, and we do have more ambassadors to meet. So I think that Michael may have our next ambassador up. Who do you have for us, Michael?
Trying to wrangle this very large serpent I've got here, our eastern rat snake, or one of our eastern rat snake ambassadors, Allegheny, who's actually our newest snake ambassador animal here. I'm struggling to get both him and me. It's probably a couple of the largest creatures here at the Wildlife Center into the frame at once, but Allegheny is doing his best to turn me into a jungle gym right now, which is what he's amazing at and what rat snakes in general are amazing at, climbing. So we went from the smallest snake, Elliot, to the largest snake by far, Allegheny here. I'm going to get his beautiful mug into view.
There he is.
There you go. It's a lot of snake. I don't think we've officially measured him. But he is, like I said, by far the largest snake that we have here. And he's got a very similar story. A lot of these most of our snakes, if not all, were here because at one point or another they were kept as pets and were either lost or abandoned, or their owners felt like they couldn't take care of them anymore. So they all have that lesson and story to tell. But what these snakes also help teach people, and that I really, really spend a lot of time trying to get on my soapbox, is how beneficial these animals are to have around. So this guy helps, not to tell people, hey, go and pick up a snake and play with it, but that these are good to have around your home. Having them around your yard is a sign of a healthy environment. These are the guys that are vacuuming up all those little rodents and rats and things like that around that can actually spread disease and eat your garden. And he's getting some really good camera time here too. So yeah, I think for me, one of the main functions of the snakes and what has helped me personally is just letting go of that irrational fear that we have. So if you see a curious, dare I say, friendly, maybe not, but very habituated to our presence and handling, and certainly a guy who doesn't mind any of that and is very comfortable with it. He shows us that these aren't animals to be feared, but to be better understood. So I think that's my soapbox. If anybody has actual questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But
well, I think something that's interesting that you mentioned there is that it's just kind of like, when we talk about our birds and our possums at the center, we often talk about their personalities, but people don't sometimes realize that reptiles like snakes and turtles that we work with can have just as much of a personality as well. So I think you've worked with Allegheny the most out of any of us. So what would you describe his personality as?
Well, I don't even think you need to ask me. I think you can ask anybody who goes into the library on a day-to-day basis and sees him out and about, not in his hides, crawling around, climbing his, for a snake, 2-story enclosure, maybe. And he's just, while some of the others like their hides, they like to spend time in underneath the substrate in their enclosures. He is always out and about. He is always curious, seemingly, as to what's going on around him. So curious is probably the best descriptor I have for him, but just so comfortable with being handled. He's also I think it's because we're not outside. He's being extremely I don't say well behaved, but very easy for me. He's taking it easy on me. He's letting me manage him and handle him without much wrangling, because once we go outside, he often feels that sunlight and wants to go, what can I climb? What's the nearest tree I can get myself into and get away from this guy? But I think you're seeing some good little snapshots of Allegheny. And of course, Severus is our other rat snake here. They don't share enclosures, but they are the largest snakes that we have. If I had to guess, about 10 times the weight of Elliot is Allegheny.
Wow.
Actually, that's not quite a guess. That's pretty on point. Maybe about 12 or 15 to 14 times, actually, that amount. If any of you brainiacs can do grams to pounds, he's 1,600 grams, roughly.
Oh gosh, don't make us do math, Michael.
Well, it shows us.
But yeah, you can see. I can definitely tell he's curious. He looks like he's very curious about that camera.
You can see when he's curious about something, he can outstretch just the first third of his body, which is a good 2 feet at least, without any struggle at all. So that is Allegheny.
You can kind of see he's got an interesting pattern on him too.
Yeah, they all have variations of the same basic pattern. They see this pretty standard checkerboard on his belly here. But a lot of them, will eventually lose a lot of this lighter color that you'll see on the top and usually fade to a more solid black. But that's not always the case. And I mean, even his size is kind of abnormal for a snake that you would find in the wild. So he's not your typical rat snake. He's a cool guy.
Awesome. Well, we'll have, I think we've got another ambassador that will be coming on camera in just a second here, but I'm glad we got a chance to bring Allegheny out. And just while Michael has him, I'll say just to kind of talk a little bit more about how much he likes to explore. I brought him to a program earlier this year where he's doing the same thing that he's doing with you right now, except he happened to wrap himself around my microphone cord and yanked it out in the middle of me talking about him. So it gave the whole crowd a big laugh when they got to see him do that. So he's been a big hit with people so far.
Allegheny's first official gala appearance.
I don't know how to segue. I didn't have anything prepared like Michael did to just.
I think that's the perfect segue of just having her on screen.
Great. The segue is Rosalie. Yes, this is Rosalie, one of our red-tailed hawks. think our biggest red-tailed hawk, and now she's making even more of a mess of my office, so that seems great. Rosalie came to the Wildlife Center in 2016, but we suspect she hatched in 2004, which means next year she'll be 20 years old. So she's also a middle-aged bird, like me. But yeah, she was with another wildlife educator for a number of years until they were no longer having animals and doing education. So she came to us in 2016. We don't really know what happened to her when she was young, but she had some sort of injury and with her hip, and has a permanent she has a lot of arthritis. Her joint basically created a false joint for itself. So she's got a bum hip, basically. I'm sure some people out there can commiserate with that. But so she's on some medications. We help manage her here, and she's definitely a bird that we decided that we could take on here, being a wildlife hospital as well, and having access, of course, to many wonderful veterinarians who help us take care of these animals. I always feel so bad for Dr. Cara and Jess, who are really like the primary vet professionals who take care of these animals, because obviously Cara and Jess play a great role in their lives, but all of these animals hate them deeply. So, I guess it comes with their job territory. But Rosalie's a big female hawk. We also have Ruby, the red-tailed hawk, and Rowan, the red-tailed hawk. Rowan's a small male. I think it's startling to see the difference in sizes between them. In the raptor world, in a lot of cases, the females are larger than the males, so that can give us a good indication on sex, although isn't always a given, particularly for some of the animals that we see in here. When Rosalie came to our center, we decided we wanted to name her here to kind of indicate the start of her new life with us. And we like our names. Thank you so much. We like names to have a significance in telling the animal's story, and more on that soon. But in Rosalie's case, we actually just named her ourselves. Sometimes we auction off naming rights. Sometimes we've had naming contests. In our case, we had my former coworker and I, Raina, we had just read the story of Rosalie Edge, a famous but not famous enough conservationist, and we were really inspired by this book that we read for our book club, and decided that we would name this hawk Rosalie in honor of Rosalie Edge, because Rosalie played a significant role in helping conserve. Oh no, we're pooping. Sorry. She played a significant role in helping conserve hawks. She was really an advocate and a champion for wild animals at a time when people were not really appreciating them and doing a lot more harm than good. So happy to show Rosalie. How do I segue into the next one? I don't know. I depend on Michael and Alex. I feel like they're quick with
You say this next animal is not Rosalie.
Yes, great segue.
I think this next animal might be Turtley Awesome. I could be wrong on this.
Turtley Awesome. Also, I'm going to put Rosalie outside, but I just also have to say that I really love this whole opossum press conference deal. I'm now remembering last year, and I just love the setup so much. More of that. Good to see you all. Goodbye.
All right. We have a turtle and a tortoise. I'll let Lauren introduce the turtle.
Yes, so this is Wilson the box turtle, commonly found around this area.
And then we have Emma, who is a Russian tortoise, and she is also not native like Elliot. She was also former pet. She was found on UVA's campus in 2000 in October, so she is actually older than I am.
And similarly, Wilson was Potentially a former pet who's either escaped or potentially set free by someone who couldn't take care of him or didn't want to take care of him anymore. He was found in Maymont Park in 2009.
Very cool. So how Emma was found, she was found on UVA's grounds, not campus. If you know, you know. So she was collected and brought to us because she gave me knowledge of tortoises, not native. And she's been with us here ever since. She'll probably be here longer than a lot of us.
Any indication of what's on her chin or mouth right there?
Yeah. So Emma will get berries every other day. Looks like she did not clean up after her dinner today.
That's what I thought.
And so part of Wilson's story is when he was found, his shell was painted purple. And so this was a problem because then he loses his ability to hide from predators. You can see on his shell, there's this beautiful pattern that camouflages really beautifully with leaves. And obviously a bright purple shell sticks out very strongly. So the vets painstakingly removed this. You can't like quickly just abrasively scrub it off. You kind of have to slowly over time remove the paint. And unfortunately, he was non-releasable because he had been kept as a pet for some time. And they also were not familiar with his original home range, which is important for box turtles.
Yeah, with box turtles, especially Michael knows at the front desk, for any turtle that we get in, we always have to know as specific of a location where they were found as possible. Their home ranges are very small, and it's kind of an analogy I like to make is it's kind of like knowing your way around your house. You know where your bedroom is, you know where your bathroom is, you know where your fridge is. So if a box turtle is taken out of their house, they don't know where any of that stuff is, and they very well could starve trying to find things that they're familiar with and get back to their house.
And another really unfortunate thing about these two animals were taken as a pet is the pet trade, turtle trafficking, which is a surprisingly big industry, and they lose. It's unfortunate because they lose the ability to contribute to their ecosystems, their populations, their ecosystem services, I guess is what it's called. And yeah, they also have very specific care requirements. So sometimes people might not be prepared for all of that.
Yeah, and the box turtles especially, they all have very different patterns. You'll see ones with bright yellow, bright orange. So it's definitely, they're beautiful, but the best place for them is the wild. It's where they're happiest, and that's where they do the best.
Couldn't have said it better myself. There was a quick question that popped up. I don't know how I got this question, but what is the lifespan of a Russian tortoise?
Good question.
And I think if you guys don't know off the top of your head, I won't put you on the spot because I think it's very similar to box turtles and other like these kinds of turtles is in the wild. It can be anywhere from, where the hazards of predators and disease and such, anywhere from several decades to 40, 50, 60 years. Whereas in captivity, these animals can live to up to 100 years. So both Emma and Wilson could potentially outlive any owner that they have. So all the more reason to leave these animals and I also just read the other day that Russian tortoises are actually critically endangered across the world, but probably because of their over poaching and use in the pet trade.
Beep, 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 beep. Breaking news. Breaking beep, 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 beep. We interrupt your regularly shell-drooled programming to bring you breaking news.
That was rough.
Sorry, I had a couple minutes to stew on that one. But we do have a really fun thing to share with you guys. So if you have been paying attention, if you've been joining us for the all access ticket gala events throughout the rest of this week, then you will remember this opossum from Tuesday. I say this opossum because she doesn't have a name yet. She has a patient number, a 6-digit numerical code that we refer to her as, but she is not named yet.
I think I have it memorized by now. I'm pretty sure it's 23-2290 is her current numerical code.
23-2290, which means that she was the 2000. What's the number?
2,290th patient this year, but we're ready to get get rid of that patient ID number so that we can give her an actual name.
As you can see, it's hard to remember. Yeah, she needs a name. You guys can, you can help us.
You can help us with that. She is one of the, I think it's the most special auction item. There are so many like one of a kind, unique items at our gala, and I think that's what makes it so special. But what can be more special than getting to name the newest member of our ambassador team, who's going to be traveling with us to programs at schools and libraries, and be part of on-site tours where people can learn so much about these animals, and she has the chance to make such a big difference in the world.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And just talk about bang for your buck. Like members of the public, you all watching these programs, you remember ambassadors. You remember their names. You will not remember my name. You will not remember Connor's name in 10 years from now. But Connor, how many times has it happened to you where we've been off at elementary schools or middle schools or high schools for programming or libraries, and adults come up to us after the show, or the teachers come up to us and they say, oh my gosh, like you guys, the Wildlife Center, you came to my school when I was a student 25 years ago. Is Jojo the owl still there? And I'm like, wow.
All the time.
Yeah. I don't know Jojo personally because that was 25 years ago. But that's the point. Yes. The point that I'm trying to make is that this is a legacy. Naming an education ambassador is a legacy. Absolutely.
And look how good she's doing. Like she is, I think, this is technically her first program, if you will, her first time, it's an online program for her where she's being in front of you all for the gala. But she's been doing great. So I think it won't take long after this before she's going with us to programs. And just talking about her personality a little bit, as she, when she came in, since day one, she was a very sweet opossum. She didn't really seem fearful. She was already habituated to some degree. And she was just very curious about who we are and what we were going to do. And she likes to explore. She likes to interact with enrichment. She loves her food.
She does. And so she's living outside directly next door to our existing education opossums, Marigold and Oliver. So she's been up there. She's acclimated to the outdoor habitat. She's fallen into a very well-suited routine for education opossum here. And yes, she does love to explore. Almost every time that I walk up there, she's getting into little nooks and crannies.
Yep.
Like into places where a bigger opossum wouldn't fit. So sometimes one of the very first things we do before anybody sits down to do any computer work or anything like that is we'll go outside and just visually check each education ambassador, make sure everything's okay and everything's safe. And sometimes I have to take a couple extra minutes to find little new opossum because she is so small. She loves to hide underneath things that our larger ambassador opossums won't fit into.
So yeah, you all, we gotta wrap this up in just a minute here, but you guys have a chance to help us name this possum.
Do you have any suggestions for names, Connor? Really quickly. We have less than 60 seconds.
I do love the plant-based names that we've had before, the flower girls like Marigold and Violet. Yes. So if you want to keep with a plant-based, think of like the native plants in our region.
That's the connection to the educational issue or educational theme is yes, native plants.
And something I think that is really cool, I heard someone say this, is olive, because it's both like keeps that plant theme in a sense, but it also we have Oliver, so now we can have olive. Just kind of like that, think that fits together very well. But those are just some suggestions, but you guys, come up with your own names. You probably have a lot of great suggestions that we have not even thought about.
Yeah.
But as much as I could talk about her forever and as excited as I am for her tonight, we've got to go ahead and wrap this up. So we're just about to end this video. Now, when we end this video, this is you're like 10-minute break to go to the restroom, grab some food, grab some drinks, settle in for the night, and then in 10 minutes, on the side of that YouTube page that you're on, you'll see the video for the gala finale. So make sure to click on that, tune in, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes, everybody.
Ooh, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye from the outreach team and our new possum.